In 479 BC, a Greek army surrounded a fortified camp on the plains of Boeotia. Inside, thousands of Persian soldiers, defeated, defenseless, waiting. What happened next wasn't a battle. The fighting was over. This was something else entirely. History classes teach you about the 300 Spartans at Thermopylae, the heroic last stand, the noble sacrifice. They don't teach you what came 11 months later, when 10,000 Spartans returned with the largest Greek army ever assembled. They don't explain what vengeance meant in the ancient world. They don't describe what happens when an entire civilization decides that mercy is no longer an option. By the time the sun set on the plains of Plataea, the bodies would be counted not in hundreds, but in tens of thousands. And the survivors, all 3,000 of them from an army that had numbered over 100,000, would carry home a message that would echo across the Persian Empire. This is the story of how ancient Greece answered Thermopylae and why even the victors would struggle with what they had done. August 480 BC. The narrow pass at Thermopylae. King Leonidas lies dead, his body mutilated on Xerxes' orders, beheaded, crucified, displayed as a warning. Around him, 300 Spartan warriors, 700 Thespians, 400 Theans, all dead. The Persians hadn't just killed them, they'd made examples. Xerxes orders the Greek corpses stripped, left to rot in the summer heat. For 3 days his army marches past the decomposing bodies. A lesson, a demonstration. This is what happens when you resist the King of Kings. But Thermopylae was never meant to be a victory. It was a transaction, lives traded for time, and as Persian forces sweep south into Greece, the question becomes, what will that time purchase? September 480 BC. Mardonius, Xerxes' most trusted general, leads the Persian army through central Greece. City by city, the advance continues. Thespe burned to the ground. Every building, every temple, the population fled, but their homes are turned to ash and rubble. Plataea, the same treatment, systematic destruction, not just conquest, erasure. Then Athens. The Persians enter an evacuated city. The civilian population fled weeks earlier to Salamis and the Peloponnese. What remains are empty streets, abandoned homes, and the temples on the Acropolis. The Persians torch everything. The Parthenon, ancient even then, burns. The temple of Athena Polis, housing sacred relics dating back centuries, is destroyed. The fires burn for days. When they finally die, Athens exists only as a scorched memory on a hilltop. This wasn't just warfare. This was systematic cultural destruction. The Persians were erasing Greece from the earth. But then Salamis in the narrow straits between the mainland and the island. The Greek navy springs its trap. The Persian fleet, massive and confident, finds itself unable to maneuver in confined waters. Greek triumphs ram, board, and sink ship after ship. By sunset, Persian naval supremacy is shattered. Xerxes watches. From a golden throne on the shore, as his invasion plans dissolve in fire and theatre. Within days he makes his decision. Retreat to Persia with half the army. Let Mardonius finish this with the remainder. The message is clear. This war should already be over. Finish it. 480 to 479 BC. The winter months, Mardonius pulls his army back to Thessalon and Macedonia. Northern Greece already under Persian control. His force still numbers over 100,000. Persian infantry, cavalry, and crucially Greek allies. Thebes, Thessaly, Macedonia, cities and regions that have chosen to submit rather than resist. In Sparta, the winter passes differently. Pausanias, nephew of the dead Leonidas, is named regent. He's young, untested in major command, but carrying the weight of his uncle's death. Around him, the Spartan assembly debates. Some argue for caution, others for immediate action. But there's a third option. never spoken aloud in the assembly halls, yet present in every discussion. What kind of victory are we preparing for? Because by spring, it's clear that this war has become something more than survival. The Greeks have held. They've won at Salamis. Now they have a choice about what comes next. Spring, 479 BC. Mardonius tries diplomacy first. He sends Alexander I of Macedon, a Greek technically, though one who submitted to Persian authority, to Athens with an offer. The terms are generous, almost too generous. Complete reconstruction of Athens. Persian goal to rebuild every temple, every Ome. Territorial expansion, additional land, favorable trade status, autonomy within the Persian Empire. Self-governance. As long as Athens acknowledges Persian supremacy, all they have to do is abandon the Greek alliance. The Athenian assembly gathers in their temporary refuge on Salamis. They're living in tents and requisitioned homes. Their city a ruin across the water. Everything they owned is ash. The Persian offer would solve every immediate problem they face. They refuse. The Spartan ambassadors present at the meeting report back that the Athenians didn't just decline, they threatened to execute anyone who suggested accepting. One council member who spoke in favor of the offer was stoned to death by the crowd, his wife and children killed by Athenian women who dragged them from their home. The message is sent to Mardonius. There will be no negotiation. Mardonius responds with action. His army returns to Athens, still abandoned, still empty. What the first burning left partially standing, this second wave of destruction finishes. Buildings that survived the first flames are systematically demolished. Wells are filled with rubble. Agricultural land is salted. This burning is different. It's not conquest, it's punishment. When the Persians withdraw again, Athens exists only as scattered stone and ash. 2 complete destructions in less than a year. Mardonius pulls back to Boeotia, to the plains near Plataea. He chooses the ground carefully. The Asopus River provides water and a defensive line. Behind him, Thebes, allied to Persia, offers a secure base. Most importantly, the flat plains favor his cavalry, the Persian army's greatest advantage. He constructs a fortified camp, wooden walls, defensive positions, supply stockpiles. Then he waits. The challenge is implicit. If you want to end this, come to ground that favors us. The Athenians send urgent messages to Sparta. Either march now, or Athens will have no choice but to accept Persian terms. For weeks, Sparta hesitates. The isthmus of Corinth is fortified. The Peloponnese is defensible. Why risk everything in open battle? But then Pausanias makes his move. He mobilizes not just Sparta's army, but the full military might of the Peloponnesian League. 5,000 Spartan hoplites, the full levy, every able-bodied Spartan citizen. 5,000 perioi, free inhabitants of Spartan-controlled territory. 35,000 helots armed as light infantry. An unprecedented number of these semi-enslaved laborers mobilized for combat. The Spartans march north, picking up allies at every city. Corinth, Megara, Sakon, Epidaurus, Troezen. The Athenians joined from Salamis, 8,000 hoplites, their entire remaining military force. By the time the combined Greek army reaches the hills above the Persian camp, it numbers nearly 110,000 men. This is the largest Greek army ever assembled in recorded history. The Greeks take position on the slopes of Mount Cithaeron, overlooking the plain where Mardonius waits. For anyone who understands ANSI, Ent warfare, the tactical situation is immediately clear. The Greeks hold high ground. The hoplite phalanx, interlocking shields, long spears, is devastating in frontal combat, but requires solid footing. The slopes give them that, plus the advantage of charging downhill. The Persians control the plain. Their cavalry can maneuver freely on flat ground. Their archers can rain down volleys. But advancing uphill into a hoplite formation would be suicide. Neither side can attack without surrendering their advantage, so they wait. Day 3 of the standoff. Persian cavalry probing Greek positions gets too close. A unit of Athenian hoplites supported by archers engages them in the foothills. The fighting is chaotic. Cavalry wheeling, hoplites bracing, arrows flying. Then an Athenian arrow strikes the horse of Mestius, commander of the Persian cavalry. The animal collapses. Mestius, in ornate golden armor, tries to fight on foot. The Athenians swarm him. Persian cavalry attempts a rescue, but the Athenians have already dragged Mestius into their formation. They strip his armor piece by piece, stabbing him repeatedly through the gaps until he stops moving. When the Persian cavalry finally retreats, the Athenians have a trophy, the golden armor of Mardonius's cavalry commander and his body. They parade Mestius's corpse through the Greek lines on a cart. Every soldier files past to see it. Morale surges. On the Persian side, the wailing can be heard across the plain. The entire sea. Cavalry mourns. Heads shaved, horses' mans cut, armor removed in grief. Mestius wasn't just a commander, he was Mardonius's friend, his most trusted officer.